What up? It's your boy Rice flavored gum.
I'm rich as I have a lot of like cool clothes and a house in the hills, and I'm like famous too. I
don't know. I guess you buy a mystery box, you open it, and you get like one random either dope item or bad item. It's like a mystery. It's a surprise, right?
Oh, I'm Ricegum.
I'm Nikon.
And I support Save the Kids Toys.
This video is not about this obnoxious, arrogant asshole. It's about an entirely different obnoxious, arrogant asshole. Some of you might be pleasantly surprised with who this video is actually about. I'll give you a hint. He's very boastful. He's made a video on me.
That's what you have to say about
Hi everyone, it's me again, and Squish Gang is present, and today we're going to do another episode of Where Are They Now? Which the last one I did was Jimmy Snow back in January. And yes, I do know that it is April. There is a TikTok on this makeup look I will tag down below. I would also encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And there is an Amazon wishlist if you wish to peruse any readings that I kind of recommend or books that I would like to read, as well as just support the channel. I'm also about to graduate. Woo! So I will be doing a live stream when that happens, whenever I submit my last paper. So come join me for that. I'll announce that on my community tab and on Twitter once I actually know when I'm going to finish my last assignment. After making my 2016-2017 video, I was reminded of who Ricegum is. And then I was having some conversations with some friends recently, and one of them was like, oh, my guilty pleasure was Ricegum, and he wanted to know where he was. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to like dig around and see what I could come up with and see what connections I could make since Ricegum's like what Ricegum's been doing since 2017. Frankly, I've never really been a fan of his, so I'm not like I wasn't too sure where to go about this, so I kind of started looking up some videos and stuff. There have been a couple videos made about him pretty recently within the last 6 months where I could like dabble into what he's doing. And what's fun in my research in this is I learned that I have the same intro as Ricegum, except instead it's like, hi everyone, it's me again. It's like, hi everyone, it's Rice here, and it's so it was like eerily similar, and I was like, well, that's amazing. The books referenced are down below as well. In this case, today's is going to be the Essential Guide to Rhetoric. So I'll tag the Amazon link for this book down below, as well as there will be, if there's any affiliate links, which I have for every Jewels, that will be indicated in the description, so do not worry about that. The affiliate code is just, I guess, small commission if you buy something. Regardless, parts of the video for this one are going to be Part 1, the post-content cop era, Part 2, scams and controversies, and Part 3, why his influencer model was bound to fail from the start. So let's get right into Part 1, which is the post-content cop era. In 2017, Ricegum became a gradually more contentious character in the YouTube sphere, starting with making his content based on cringy kids, which my 2016 video, I had a whole section of the commentary part talking about the bullying kids era.
These kids are still on the loose and out there making musicallys. There's so many kids out there that must be stopped, and it is my duty to put an end to this, or at least try to. So many innocent lives are affected by these videos, and one day they will be stopped.
Now, he was definitely an influencer that was a product of his time as a result of the style of content. And what's interesting is multiple times he was outright caught not caring and admitting to not really wanting to make quality content, but rather would have conversations of it doesn't matter what the video has in it, but rather if you are able to put clickbait in it. Now, this section, the post-content cop era, is inspired by a video I saw by a very small creator. I will tag his channel down below. It's Scorpion. If you could subscribe to that, that'd be iconic. Tell him I sent you. That video was really well edited and well outlined that I could figure out what had happened between 2017 and 2021. He would call the quality of content kind of irrelevant. Irrelevant, his catchphrase, of course, despite the fact that the quality of content is what makes longevity, but I think he was never really in it for the long run, and we'll get into why in the third part of the video.
In a Q&A video with Layla Pons, Ricegum would openly admit that the best way for YouTube growth was to make super clickbaity videos.
What's your secret to getting millions of subscribers in record time? I mean, subscribers nowadays, it's really easy. You don't need talent, you don't need to be funny, you just need a good title and like a clickbait, thumbnail so people click on it. It doesn't even need to be a good video,
Ricegum is one of the most 2016 creators you could possibly imagine. I did include him into my commentary section because I actually wanted to include it in my part 2 as kids content, because he definitely did more of the like Jake Paul weird kind of vlog style content with them, and was affiliated with FaZe Clan and Clout Gang and everything like that. But he would generate fake views with Jacob Sartorius, diss tracks, and he would like do commentary on cringy Musical.ly kids, which if those of you who don't know, Musical.ly is what it became TikTok. in, I believe, 2019 or 2018. He also highly participated in flex culture, which is what he was most famous for and is a big section of the IDubbbz content cop. And he lived in the content house for the Clout Gang. And I could also make a whole video about why a lot of these people were not able to retain relevancy without either outwardly rejecting their content from before or switching platforms entirely. IDubbbz TV was another very 2016 creator. There is a large section on him in my 2016 video because his content was essentially based on calling out people who were worse than him while kind of having a problematic approach often himself. Ricegum was a really good target for content cops for several reasons. One, his young audience, so that if Ian was kind of being able to punch down when he was making this video, because if 12-year-olds were going to come in his comments, what they would say was pretty, it wouldn't be very scathing, The second factor of that being that Ricegum was known for addressing controversy fairly poorly and was someone who was not really able to defend himself in any way that really had any relevancy. The third factor is he is not worried about making an immediate response. Like, he will quickly come back without thinking it through, which I feel like IDubbbz was kind of betting on, given the diss track at the end of the video and how he could make a content deputy on the back end once that is done. And for objectively bad behavior that was really popular to critique at the time. Admitting to not caring about the content, admitting to clickbait, admitting to just trying to make as much money as possible. Things that creators like IDubbbz TV, H3H Productions, Leafy's here, etc. were really into criticizing. What's interesting too is in like a quote unquote modern day YouTube, like YouTube right now, when creators do something bad, they tend not to like advertly stand by it in the same way that Ricegum would, where they were just really unapologetically just didn't really give a shit about the content they were putting out. And I think this comes with the rise of analytical commentary, the fact that like you can be picked apart with so much depth and precision that now it's kind of hard to just claim any sort of ignorance and just continue on with what you were doing like you could have possibly done before. Because with people like IDubbbz TV kind of having problematic approaches to their delivery, for example, you could sometimes slither out being on the guise of like, well, what he's doing isn't good either, so how do you know you can necessarily trust him?
Maybe offended because they might, really take this thing seriously, and it is serious, but out of everyone, IDubbbz should not be the one calling me out for it.
Is good.
Like, I know I fucked up, but like, IDubbbz really, out of everyone to call me out, this guy calls me out, he has no room to talk.
Of course, IDubbbz was a very well-trusted figure at the time, but I'm just saying that they were kind of able to move on from it afterwards. Obviously, though, there are outliers of content creators who like double down on their own bad behavior and keep doing it. An example of this I would think of is the Gabby Hanna series that she made a few months ago. And, other problematic content creators that kept it pushing, like the Ace family, James Charles, etc. So after the content cop came out, Ricegum made a very poorly received response video where he even throws money at the girl that IDubbbz alleges that he harassed. Ian responds with a content deputy and had the diss track at the end of the video as well. And in the diss track, IDubbbz had reputable characters at the time joining in with him. PewDiePie was in it, Boy with the Band, H3H Productions. Again, I talked about this in my 2016 YouTube video, which I will link in the description as well, because I'm realizing how often I'm going to be referencing it in this video. So Ricegum adapted as a creator in like the most superficial way possible, keeping the effort and originality as low as possible, pumping out very frequent content, pumping out content that was very exploitative of a young audience, and cycling through people that just aged out of his content. So rather than like adapting and growing with his audience to try to keep a consistent audience, he essentially would just keep doing the same content with more outrage and just kind of betting on new people joining in as his other audience ages out of him. He did take advantage of that young audience, because now we're going to get into part 2, which is the scams and controversies section. So this is huge credit to Crew World Happy Mind and CoffeeZilla. Now, CoffeeZilla is a figure that, if you did look into any of the Save the Kids coin stuff, is one of the biggest heavy hitters who made the videos that kind of exposed everything. His videos mentioned on the H3 podcast. It was mentioned on Mom's Basement. Keemstar's talked about it. Face Banks has talked about it. This person was a very big creator in exposing this scheme. Speaking of adapting to trends, Ricegum would find any scheme or mode of making income that he possibly could to make as much money in as little time as possible. And this is another factor of why I'm convinced that Ricegum was never really in it for the long run to start with. And I think a lot of this too was to kind of generate the continuous revenue stream that he had after the adpocalypse occurred and YouTube ad revenue got significantly cut. The issue too is he was kind of getting a cut in his views and his retention because of the content cop. Now, if people do want to try to argue that there wasn't an effect with the content cop, I would hugely disagree, because up until this day, there is a Instagram post that Ricegum did on Valentine's Day of 2022, which is his most recent post online. And you can still see that you like comments like, you never bounced back after Ian. You never came back after that content cop. So that reputation has stayed up until this day. Ricegum kind of participated in schemes related to gambling, but like for children. And gambling for children was something that had existed for online for kind of quite some time. I even recall one of Ricegum's friends, FaZe Banks, being affiliated with a CSGO gambling scheme. And I wanted to double check this. And when you look it up, was FaZe Banks affiliated with CSGO gambling? It literally says that he admitted to it. So I'm not throwing an allegedly on there but if I'm wrong, allegedly, I suppose. But regardless, that was kind of FaZe Banks was doing that. And I kind of imagine he would have led Ricegum in that direction as well as a mode of making income. I'm not sure if FaZe Banks is still like that. Well, because FaZe Clan does have affiliations with a lot of crypto schemes, but at the same time, in the Mom's Basement podcast, FaZe Banks says that what individuals kind of get into is not necessarily representative of FaZe Clan, but rather FaZe Clan is a mode of getting things like brand deals and setting them up in a place to live and people to make content. Kind of like a content company as opposed to like a kind of group. So in 2018, 2019, a different type of scheme became popular rather than the CSGO skins, which was a loot box gambling scheme. Now, I looked at the Ricegum fan wiki, which kind of described the events of and affiliations with this scheme. The scheme was called Mystery Brands, and this was a box where you could essentially put money in, and then you would draw from random mystery boxes. Like, it would kind of generate them, rather than having them, like, sent to your house, like the videos that were trending at the time. That was in Cruel World Happy Mind. She described that was a very popular type of content at the time, black market, mystery boxes or, wish mystery boxes and things like that. So these ones were kind of a digital form of that.
Has a ton of these like random mystery boxes. Like right here, he has like a Eaze and Supreme and like technology, like smartphone one. I don't know. I guess you buy a mystery box, you open it.
The video in which this became something that Ricegum was doing was called How I Got AirPods for $4. Now, in this video, Ricegum is sponsored by the scheme, but it's not making it very clear that this is what it is, and essentially shows him putting money and getting the boxes, and then pretty much every time he put money in, he would get like a significant prize. One of the prizes for the box is called the Icicle, which is literally just nothing. You win nothing. It's just a picture that pops up when you get in that box, and that's what most people are getting almost all of the time. But Ricegum has shown like success in the boxes rather than any sort of failure from things like icicles and stuff. Or if there are failures ever in these schemes, because Jake Paul participated as well, it is very minimal. Ricegum even doubles down and goes, well, you guys said it was a scam, but like they sent the stuff to my house. Like the stuff is here, guys. Like it showed up. Not like it is quite literally, his code is generating better prizes than everybody else's allegedly. Because yeah, you're just paying into a roulette rather than like those like little when you throw the ball in and you get money if you get it on the right one. It's the same thing with that, but instead of money generated, it was things like Yeezys, sports cars, AirPods, and things like that. And they even advertised like $1 million mansion. But if I recall correctly, and someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but people looked into like the mansions and stuff, but they were like still listed and weren't purchased or held by anybody, so they wouldn't be able to even give that to somebody if they wanted to. So there was just like fake prizes being put onto that site in the first place. Scams have always existed online. I think it is the creativity that has changed and the adaptivity of like the influencer marketing that has been able to kind of push them into this more expansive form, such as they were for Ricegum. Because instead of CSGO skins or more digital forms, they are trying to make digital forms of tangible prizes, which kind of give people more comfort in the idea, despite the fact that rather than generating pure revenue, things like prize boxes can send you fake goods. And I think this has adapted just because the young people are way more aware of phone schemes and phishing schemes, email phishing schemes. Actually, because I remember in my first semester I took this class and talking about marketing and stuff like that, and they talked about how phone schemes and email phishing schemes are actually targeted at older people because they've become really aware that kids don't fall for them. If you see a weird email from someone you don't know with a link in it with a bunch of spelling mistakes, even really young children are well aware that they shouldn't be clicking on those anymore. So they've kind of adapted them into more like seemingly tangible things through the trust of other creators. So once the gambling scam, like this mystery box scam, fell apart, Ricegum obviously like learned nothing. And this is where we get to like the kind of bigger scam of this video, and also the common theme of like Ricegum learning nothing besides different ways to generate revenue, because a new age of gambling scams. So once these mystery boxes were debunked by many large channels, I remember there was the H3H3 Productions video or the podcast video. I saw it on, I think Idoms made a video or someone like that. There was quite a few videos about the mystery box stuff. The new age of gambling schemes, instead of things like mystery boxes and stuff, have kind of shifted to the stock market, which is even weirder because lack of regulation for things like cryptocurrencies. But like the stock market and putting money into those things can cause pretty heavy repercussions, and it's something that is very messy. And what's interesting is that you get all these creators and these different people that are like, put in money, you should just put in your money. But then you have other people like FaZe Banks, who in the Mom's Basement podcast actually says like, never put in money if you would need it if you lost it. Which I think is like a really good sentiment to have, actually, which I will commend FaZe Banks for saying that outright, especially as someone who has been kind of enveloped in a lot of these schemes. I keep trying to tell this to people. I've had people my age be like, well, why do you have a savings account but you didn't put it in the stock market? Because if I lose the money, I'm screwed. Like, do not invest money that you can't lose. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but in today's market and with the idea of like stocks and things being put in, that has kind of become an ideology that people are possessing, that you should just, any extra money you have, you should throw into the stock market. There's a reason why the stock market is profitable in the way that it is. It's because it's high risk investment most of the time. And with high risk, you get high reward, but then that means you are at high risk to lose. So that's like my like financial advice is like, if you can't afford to put money into the stock market, like if you need the money within the next year or two, don't put it in the stock market. And that's not just my advice, that's FaZe Banks' advice too, so take that what you will. So the new age of gambling scams have been kind of put under the guise of the stock market, like I was saying, and people are taking advantage of the lack of regulation. The most recent one, which we get to the CoffeeZilla videos, was the Save the Kids coin. Now, this was supposed to be a form of cryptocurrency that was supposed to, quote unquote, redistribute wealth in a way that would help children. And Save the Kids sounds a lot like a certain charity called Free the Children, which the logo is also very similar to. So they essentially made a knockoff charity for cryptocurrency to try to angle it in a way that it was supposed to help people, while, if you can see by the graphs I'm putting on the screen, was a notorious rug pull. Rug pull is a term in the crypto scene, which means that a bunch of people bought coins. So let's say I bought 5 coins, pretend just full units at $1 each, and then before they went on sale to the public. So there's 50 total coins, I bought 5 at $1. Then when a bunch of people are trying to buy them and trying to buy portions, the value of the coin goes up to $1,000 a coin. Then I sell my $5 I paid for coins for $1,000 each. Went in, paid $5, came out $5,000. So you're selling as soon as the value goes up by people trying to buy them and all the people that hold majority share. So then the coin value just absolutely tanks to sometimes negative or nothing at all. This is described as the rug pull or the pump and dump scheme. And FaZe Banks confirms that this was a pump and dump scheme in the Mom's Basement podcast. I also kind of feel like this is one of like the grossest crypto schemes because it was an idea of like charity and charitable donation, which is maybe even more sick because it's like you're pretending that you're helping people while ripping off like it's Free the Kids, but you're ripping off children, because most of Ricegum, Fraser, like what's it, FaZe Fraser? Like I know they call him Fraser. I just don't know like what his like FaZe name was. They'll have the clips, but I write them as like their actual like first name.
My name's Fraser.
My name's Jarvis.
I'm Tico. I'm Ricegum. I'm Nikon.
The members of FaZe Clan and Ricegum as like a trusted entity, ripping off money from supposedly children or very young adults to quote unquote save kids. It's just so disgusting. If I remember correctly, this is alleged because I couldn't really find it as easily as I wanted to. I recall that there were supposed to be lawsuits happening from this. I know that there was a lot of money lost. FaZe Banks confirmed this in the Mom's Basement podcast as well. And even FaZe Clan, which is not necessarily known for its admirable character, distance themselves from all affiliated with the Save the Kids coin. And like overall, just like crypto schemes are so confusing to me because how do you like donate a currency? How does that work? I have no idea. But Ricegum was simply affiliated with this. He was by no means a mastermind. Allegedly, the mastermind that Keemstar and FaZe Banks thinks, as well as CoffeeZilla implied, is Sam Pepper. Some think that it was Fraser K, by a member of FaZe Clan, but Ricegum never really came up as someone who was a mastermind of this. Ricegum says that he had been accepted to Harvard and then chose a YouTube career instead. I don't think he's that smart, but take with that what you will. I just remembered that because I was gonna call Ricegum a dum-dum, but like, I like the only the only confirmation of this is like Ricegum saying it. So again, as we can see, he's not a very honest character, so take with that what you will. I need to clarify for like legal purposes, this was not a Save the Kids coin was not a FaZe Clan operation. Members of FaZe Clan separately were involved with this, not FaZe Clan as an entity. But despite all of this, Ricegum never made up for it, really. He also never made up for any of the treatments of women or anything along the like of that. Still made really cringy, over-sexualized kids content actually after the IDubbbz content cop. So this was just a constant cycle of Ricegum never learning anything and just getting deeper and deeper into controversy throughout his career. And even did things like low-effort IRL Twitch streaming, which was similar to like the putting people on live stream without their consent from 2017. But now we get into part 3, why the Ricegum model was bound to fail. Because what the Save the Kids coin got us to about July of 2021. There was an update by a friend of Ricegum's that essentially had said that Ricegum is just chilling with the money that he's made. Aiden Ross. Yeah, with an update from Aiden Ross just says that Ricegum was chilling with the money that he's made and it's kind of just staying offline. Now, this is something very similar to what Leafy's here did.
How much you pay for the watch? $18K. I miss you. We had a good wave going. Keep killing it, Big Dick Ross. I miss you. What if we bring SSV World back? Need you, though. You're a huge part. I'll tap back in for you. Keep me posted, gang.
And we'll get into that a little bit more once we discuss from the reading from this book. This is called The Elements of Rhetoric, and we're going to look into the ethos section of this because I find that that's a very relevant portion of this, and I know ethos is something that people are really commonly aware of, or I've talked about a lot on this channel, which is kind of just like the rhetoric of character and the character of this person who is speaking. So we're going to read a little bit, and then I will go into why this is relevant. To build character, you do not need to be clever. In fact, sometimes sophistication can get in the way of goodness. In your search for inner chi, start with what you know. For most of us, that means beginning with what we don't like. No one likes bad manners. How do you feel the last time someone snuck into your parking spot? Or how about when your nephew forgot to say thank you? Men may disagree on metaphysics, but nobody likes to be cheated. On basic morals on where to begin, there was until yesterday wide agreement. Whether you live in Kaluta or Cincinnati, the wisdom of Confucius still stands. What you don't like done to yourself, don't do to others. That is only a beginning, of course. Where we should end up can be less clear. When trying to get people to pose for a group picture, a friend of mine in jest often yells something like, be natural. That is the problem. We don't entirely know what it means to be natural. We are what we might say, nature's monsters. Dogs, cats, sheep, and petunias all act as they're told by instinct. Men and women make decisions. Decisions a repeated form of habit. Some of your habits adds up to the value of your character. Sooner or later, someone you respect is going to ask, what is yours worth? A virtue is a habit of excellence. It is a tendency that perfects some part of nature. Repeated. Makes you stronger, more than what you ought to be. Habits can also flow downstream. Decisions quickly take form of a second nature. So, we get into that in the beginning, right? So, it starts with that we are aware of what we don't like. And when we're building character, we are focused on what we don't like. There's a reason why there's a saying like, live long enough, die a hero, or live long enough to be a villain. Because, so Ricegum began as a character who was criticizing cringy kids for making kind of inflammatory clickbait content. It was someone who was really thankful for his audience and made sure to address that very frequently. Over time, he became the character of his own criticism, kind of making the inflammatory content and being overtly clickbaity and didn't think about anything and just wanted money and fame as he saw the accumulation of his channel. And what you were saying and the form of retention is so related to ethos. Being liked and having good character is what keeps you in the public eye. And Ricegum disregarded that for the sake of accumulating as much wealth as possible, which I almost think is planned by the amount of schemes that he was doing. He wanted to be able to retire as young of an age as possible and just kind of live off of things like investments. Ricegum lost what made his personality allegedly better than now. And, someone who was appreciative of his audience. Flexing or being unlikable is one thing, but obviously being dismissive of your audience value and where you became is another thing. This kind of reminds me of Leafy's here, when he started to kind of just make obviously pumped out content, and many scandals came out about his editors, and he started kind of going back and forth with Keemstar, and kind of not being the lone wolf that he was before, and the type of person who would just come for people, which is the thing that people valued in the first place. So he became someone who shifted away from the importance of his own character. Virtue is a habit of excellence, tendency that perfects some part of your nature and repeated makes you stronger. But Ricegum disregarded the repetition of his virtuous habits in contrast for worse habits. And that kind of led to not being able to becoming the thing you don't like. And like I said, based on how quickly he was willing to throw things away, I am inclined to believe that he actually just didn't really want a career in YouTube, and instead we just wanted to be somebody who could retire at a really young age and make money on his investment. That's it for today, and we're going to conclude. So, in conclusion, no one is safe from being irrelevant. Ricegum stopped making content last year in the midst of the Save the Kids scandal, kind of disappeared from the internet, has made one Instagram post since the summer of 2021, which just has a picture of his girlfriend where they are in designer clothing, of course. And the comments are riddled with, you fell off, you're irrelevant, Ian ruined your career, and different tones like that. And I think he's just a product of someone who could not adapt to a culture. He could not make repeated decisions to build his virtue, rather just try to do anything he could in the short term. I wouldn't really worry about Ricegum. He'll be more than fine. This is everything I was able to find. I looked on Reddit, I looked through TikTok, I looked through the wiki, I looked through videos, I looked around as much as I possibly could, and this is all I was able to find. If anyone has any other ideas, let me know, because I would love to know where Ricegum went, and I'd be willing to make a part 2 on someone like this. So this wraps up Where Are They Now? Ricegum. And you guys have a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye!
You know, it's crazy. They think I'm hiding in the shadows, but like, I am the shadows. What does a liar do when he's dead? What the hell, man? I don't know. You have a lot of cats. It's okay, though. I'm a cat person. I like cats. You can call me Catman. That was super weird. I shouldn't have said that. When that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. Ooh, that one gave me chills. I'm vengeance, man.